essentially a warning, and if that they're being disruptive, and if they don't cease their behavior, then they can be removed from the building. And that would also include up to a trespass warning, which means if they come back into that facility, they would be subject to arrest. We've all heard the trespass after warning at some point during our life. And it also has a provision that would, other than during, today you're having a public meeting, people can videotape in here all day long, anytime they want to. But in the working spaces and other areas that are public facilities, they would not be allowed to video or audio record individuals without the consent of all the persons involved. And there is at the back of this proposed ordinance a list, and I won't go over one of them, but it's about 2 pages on pages 12 and 13 of my report. So the following conduct is prohibited within any facility owned, controlled, or leased by Franklin County. It's pretty broad ranging, engaging in conduct prohibited by law, the possession of weapons, except as specifically permitted by law, smoking, chewing tobacco, use of e-cigarettes, disruptive or harassment or unsafe behavior, the blocking of entrances, exits, fire exits, elevators, stairs, or otherwise interfering with the provision of services by county staff, entering or remaining in non-public areas without authorization, disrupting county business, leaving unattended packages or backpacks, laying down or sleeping in chairs or benches, audio recording or sound recording inside any county-owned, controlled, or leased facility except inside of a designated public facility. So if the board has no questions for me regarding this ordinance that's been proposed, then it would be appropriate to take public comment.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one quick,
Yep.
it's not really a question. On some of this verbiage, you have in here the county coordinator as someone that could basically ask someone to be removed or remove that person.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there something that we can maybe add in case the county coordinator is not available, say he's off that day? Any particular, I think you put county coordinator and designee, is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's in there, so it could be anybody that asks the person to be removed.
Sure, but I chose the county coordinator because he's been your point administrative person for all other matters, so either him or his designee
Okay.
would be the person charged with, enforcing the ordinance and calling law enforcement and having trespassers removed if necessary. You would be relying on him to name a designee, or if you wanted to go ahead and name a designee, that would also be appropriate as well.
Well, for continuity, I think it's better to have him be able to name someone because it might be different people in the office if we name a person. You know what I mean? I just don't want to set us up for.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions before we do public comment? All right. This time we would open up for public comment. Is there anyone here that wishes to comment publicly before the board takes any action today or potential action on this ordinance in front of us? Mike, Mr. Ron, would you see if anybody by Zoom would like to speak?
I have one person with the ID iPhone. I'm gonna ask them to unmute. They can address the board with their hands raised.
You might want to tell them that they're on.
You have your hand raised on Zoom. You have, your ID is iPhone. If you would unmute the phone on your end. One more time, I'm gonna ask to unmute. I don't know if they're changing their mind, if they're away from their phone, or they have trouble oh, well, no, they put their hand down, so I guess they changed their mind.
All right. So, any questions from the board or concerns about what we're looking at, or what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve contingent on the changes that we discussed with the designee.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to approve this ordinance by Commissioner Ward with a slight change in the wording as far as who's designated to be able to take such action.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Sanders. Any other discussion from the board before we vote?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say this is a sad day and time that we have to vote on something such as this, but it's the way of the world now, I guess.
It is. Well, and two, to make sure that the public is aware. So the reason we're looking at this is because we've had some issues that we really didn't have a way of dealing with because we didn't have anything legally down. And, you know, that's where we're at, so. Just like the commissioner has already said, it's sad that you have to have this kind of thing, but it is what it is.
That's what my comment was gonna be.
Yep.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the thing is that people like to hang on that, well, it's my right, but that other people in the county have rights too, and when you're being disruptive in certain situations, you're taking away their right to have what they, their service as well. I think it's ridiculous, to be honest with you, but the chew in the back, I mean, could have let the chew in the back, yeah, but, well, I can live with it.
It is what it is, Commissioner. I will say this, you know, and it's really past us, it's past just county stuff, it's America in general. People have rights, but they have responsibilities to go with those rights. My rights don't trump my responsibility. I can say, I have the right of free speech, I can say what I want to say, but I also have to be responsible for those words and actions that I say. You know, that's what we're missing here. Everybody trumps rights, and we have rights, sure enough. But you have to answer to, or you're responsible for, those things that you want to exercise as your rights. And that's what we're trying to shore up here. Make sure that they know they're going to be responsible.
Mr. Chairman, that iPhone raised their hand again. Do you want to
Okay.
give it another try?
Yes, please do. Since we couldn't before, please do.
Once again, iPhone, your hands, you raised your hand. I'm requesting that you unmute so you can address the Board of County Commissioners. Hand down again, Commissioner.
Okay. Any other discussion before we vote? We tried.
So,
Now he's back again.
yeah, that's okay, I'm passing.
Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Please proceed, sir.
All right. Commissioners, this is the second and your last public hearing on a proposed ordinance. This is an ordinance of Franklin County, Florida, establishing a Franklin County business occupational license whereby requiring any person or entity that endeavors to carry on, conduct, or engage in any business, trade, occupation, or profession within Franklin County is required to obtain an annually renewed business license and timely filed and renewed thereafter, requiring peddler vendors to secure proper permitting and license, providing for administrative oversight and regulatory authority, providing for fees and costs of administration, providing for repealer, severability, and modifications that may arise from consideration at public hearings, and providing for an effective date. Essentially, this ordinance would impose a business license requirement within the unincorporated areas of Franklin County. The two cities would not be subject to this ordinance. There are two different fee structures. One is a flat $25 fee for everyone who is not a vacation rental property. Vacation rental properties' annual business license would be $100 annually because there would be an annual inspection that goes along with that license, and thus the increased fee. So unless the board has any questions for me, I would open the ordinance up for public comment.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question. Now, what you just stated with vacation rental companies, businesses would have to pay this $100 fee for a business license. However, if they are already paying through the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, that would basically exclude them from having to pay this?
Let me look and see.
I can't remember exactly what paragraph it was on, but I remember looking at
Because
it.
you had asked me that at the last meeting, and I got thinking about that. There's a provision in here that says that non-resident persons that have transitory DBPR licenses are exempt, but I don't think it means that your vacation rentals in Franklin County would be exempt, even if they have a BPR license. They're still gonna have to get the Franklin County license.
Okay.
And Commissioner, Attorney Schiller, let me make sure I'm reading this right. So the way it's written up though, say a business has several rental homes under their business, then there's one license for that business, correct?
Right, just, if they have multiple locations, there would
Right.
just be one
Right.
license.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I just found what I was reading, and I might be misinterpreting it, so if you could clarify. It says here that they, I'm just gonna try to keep this short and sweet. Occupations or businesses, an annual flat tax rate of $25, additional inspection and administrative oversight expenses shall require all vacation rentals as defined by Florida statute have a flat tax rate of $100 per year and further defined herein. And all businesses are required to register annually with Franklin County. However, those businesses that register annually with the Florida Division of Business and Professional Regulations shall receive an exemption from the fee requirements of this ordinance.
But they still have to get the.
They still have
where
to
are
get
you
the
looking at?
license.
Yeah, okay,
Section 6?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, they still have
Or
to get the
section
license.
4,
Section
section
four.
4.
Section 4.
It just seemed a little confusing to me, that's why I was wanting to get clarification. It's kind of contradictory. Am I misinterpreting it?
No, I don't think you are. You read the plain language of it.
Can we get the slide changed? Do we have this?
I guess, so let me,
Sorry.
no problem. We kind of skipped the first actual public hearing, and we went straight to the second one, what we did, so. All right. So what we're trying to figure out what,
Section 4 of
Okay, yeah, I'm reading it.
the ordinance, Michael, the business tax
if I can track
ordinance.
it down. Hold on 1 second.
It's gonna be way past that. It's on, I did it under Attorney Schiller's report.
Yeah, let me go there and see.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, I agree with what you just read, Commissioner Ward.
Yeah.
But I thought the intention was, maybe we will need to change that, because I believe the intention was to charge vacation rentals $100 for the annual registration, so I will need to amend that to reflect what I believe was the board's intent and that I did not write down correctly.
So what would the language look like then?
I would say strike the last paragraph of section 4. That begins, any and all businesses are required to register annually in the county. However, those that register annually with Florida BPR shall receive an exemption from the fee requirements of this ordinance. Strike that and leave registration shall occur on or before September 1st of each year.
By the time I get there, it'll be past this.
While you're looking for that, I will say, since it is, I mean, yes, September's a little ways, but since it's something we've never done before, I would actually be in favor of making it January 1st of each year. Just me personally. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, but if we're gonna institute something like this, we do need to give them definitely ample time that nobody's gonna, say that we did it and they didn't know about it, like we had happen last time. We upped the
17.
TDC tax, but that had to do with state statute and what the dates had to be.
You actually need to keep the first sentence, correct?
Sir?
You actually need to keep the first sentence, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, you keep the first paragraph.
Strike
of
out
section
everything
4,
after that until
and
registration.
then strike that second paragraph beginning with any and all businesses, and ending at fee requirements of this ordinance. Right now, it reads, registration shall occur on or before September 1st of each year. The chairman has suggested January the 1st. The reason I chose September 1st is it's coincides with your budget year, and it avoids all the holiday mishmash of people
But-
doing things at the last minute.
our budget year actually starts October 1, doesn't it?
Isn't it?
It's October
Oh,
1 is the budget year.
Okay.
But anyway, it's right. Anyone else have any questions or concerns about
I
what we're looking
apologize,
at?
I have some technical issues getting that off.
We've had technical issues all day, sir. It's not just you. It's just been one of those days, Michael. Any other questions or concerns, commissioners? We have not had any motions yet on this, correct?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well,
Public discussion.
we didn't have any
Public comments.
We did call for public comment, I thought, didn't we?
No, not for this.
Not for this.
I had a
one.
question.
Talking about-
Oh, okay, that's, okay, my bad.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, one more question. So the vacation rental companies, it's not 100 per vacation rental home, it's
No.
100 flat rate for just the business.
Yeah, I read it.
If you're a vacation rental business, then it's one fee for that business.
Okay.
If you are, you know, renting on your own, then you would have to get your own license and pay the fee.
Right. All right. If there are no other questions, then we'll call for public comment.
Amy Hodson, St. George Island. My question I just have a question about who's doing these inspections that are required annually, because we have about 1,000 vacation rentals. And even if you did one every day, that's 3 a day, if it's this county doing them. So who's doing the inspections that are required by this?
So this is gonna be, Miss Amy, this is gonna be part of what we're understanding. So we've tried to move toward code enforcement, but it's hard to have code enforcement when you don't even know who's in business. And there have been several times as a commissioner, people have come to me and said, well, you heard about so-and-so opening their business, and I'm like, what? No? I mean, you have businesses starting, you don't even know they're there. But part and parcel of having code enforcement is there has to be some standard of operating. So that's why we're looking at a business license, but it's gonna require whoever we're moving forward, because the sheriff was just a first step to partner with the sheriff's office. But no, going into budget, we're gonna be looking at trying to hire somebody full-time for code enforcement, because now they're gonna have things to be doing, not just riding around looking all the time, but you know what I mean?
Right. I
Inspections
just
to
don't
be
think
had
that
and whatnot.
even one full-time code enforcement person could not do just this
Oh,
in a
probably not.
year.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be busy doing code enforcement stuff. I don't know that you could have, I know that they're required. I know deck inspections are required. I worked in vacation rentals, but it's just, you're gonna have to staff that in order to inspect
Yes, ma'am.
all of these properties.
Yes, ma'am. And it's also one of those things, Ms. Amy, as we go toward code enforcement and trying to actually have a full-fledged code enforcement, then there are several issues that have come up that we've had no way to address. We've had no way to address somebody going in because we're not in the house. We don't have that foot in the door opportunity like we're gonna have with this, potentially with this business license, to be in these rental homes. So there've been tales of people putting rooms on the interior of the house, you know what I mean, with no exit. They're changing the house from 8 people to 20 people, and they don't comply with water and sewer, you know, the sewage or the effluent. And we're not just trying to change them all to have greater drain fields and bigger septic tanks. No, we're trying to make them be, if it's a 8-person house, there's 8 people staying in the house. And this would truly give the county the opportunity to address those, because we're gonna be in those houses.
And Mr. Chairman, let
Yes.
me make sure we're clear on the record, because I think it needs to be clarified. It's a $100 registration fee per rental home. So we're not talking like the old, I'm not gonna call out any particular names, but you have like vacation rental management companies. That's not what we're talking about. It's each rental home has, get the $100 a year license, okay?
Okay. All right. Anyone else for public comment? And I wasn't trying to take people's time, I was just trying to answer the question to the best of my ability. Anyone else wishing to comment publicly about this before we potentially take any action? Mr. Morrow, is there anybody by Zoom?
Let's try the iPhone.
iPhone?
I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just.
iPhone, you had your hand raised. I've sent an indication for you to unmute if you'd like to address the board. Mr. Chairman, I've sent 3 requests
Okay.
and still did not
All
unmute.
right. One more time in the room, is anyone wishing to comment publicly on this? Okay, Commissioners, it's back to us. Any additional discussion, or what is the pleasure of the board? Yes, no, table for more clarification, what do y'all want to do?
Do we have to wait for those amendment changes?
I'm sorry.
The
what was that?
verbiage earlier that we were talking about?
Yes, if you were to approve it, the motion would be to adopt the ordinance as amended by the board, which the amendment is to, in section 4 of the proposed ordinance, strike all of the second paragraph except for the last sentence. And the last sentence would continue to read, registration shall occur on or before September 1st each year.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one more. I was also, section 9, it brings up the FDBPR again.
I'm sorry, repeat that, Commissioner. My head still stopped up.
Section 9,
I heard that.
it speaks on it says basically the same thing. It says that, however, those businesses registered with the Florida Division of Business Professional Regulation shall receive an exemption. So I just basically want to make sure that if we're going to omit that, then it needs to be omitted through the whole ordinance. That way
Yes.
there's no confusion.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you. So it would be to also strike the second paragraph of section 9.
Correct.
And if the board is favorable to adopt, I would like to change the effective date to January 1st of the year.
Okay. Motion to approve the ordinance with the amendment that the board has chosen.
And motion to
Second.
approve by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Croom. Any additional discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Mr. Steve, we need to go back to you, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip you.
And I'm unable to chair, Commissioner, so that's something you're gonna have to, I don't know what happened there.
Technological.
Yep,
Rob
Taking the
Handel on the
box.
fritz.
But it wasn't a cyber attack.
maybe it was.
I know.
Those are happening lately.
You ready?
Yep, yes, sir.
It's a notice of zoning change. It's an ordinance rezoning .99 acres plus or minus of land in section 29, township 8 south, range 6 west, from R4 single-family home industry to R1A single-family residential subdivision district.
And this is gonna decrease their actual density that they currently have been using, correct? Isn't that what's taking place?
I think that's what it is on this one.
Yeah, it went from, they currently have 4 dwellings there, they're gonna go down to 3 on that, okay.
But they're allowed 4, but they're gonna go down and do 3.
All right,
Okay, I get it.
Also, Mr. Chairman, they're going from what's required, the 450 square feet of heated and cooled space to 1,000 heated.
Yes.
and,
yes.
So,
Yep.
so less dense.
Pleasure of the board?
Do we need to take public comments and stuff?
Yes, I guess we do it as a public hearing, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
I've been trying to hurry us up all day.
We're trying to keep them straight up here, y'all.
Jesus, it's one of those days. So at this time, we would call for public comment. If anyone is wanting to comment publicly on this matter before the board takes any potential action. All right, there's no one in the room. Let's, you want to try Zoom one more time?
I think iPhone gave up on it.
That looks like it, right? Whoever iPhone was, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, seeing no public comment, then we'll go back to the board. What is the pleasure of the board?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any additional discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, that concludes our public hearings. All right, Commissioner Sanders, you good to proceed? You good to proceed, or do you want to take a break?
No, I'm fine. Go
Okay, I
ahead.
just wanted to make sure
Go ahead.
I'm
Let's get
being,
through.
being now. All right, so that concludes our public hearings. We'll move on to Ms. Erin Griffith, Fiscal Manager Grants Coordinator.
Hey there, Commissioners. The first item of action is for the Hickory Dip Road project. At the last meeting, the board opened responses to the RFQ solicitation for construction, engineering, and inspection services for the widening and resurfacing of Hickory Dip Road in East Point. Of the 2 responses received, Southeastern Consulting Engineers was the highest ranked firm by the review committee. Board action to accept the ranking of the review committee and authorize staff to begin contract negotiations with the highest ranked firm, Southeastern Consulting Engineers.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders, second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay, Commissioners, next item is item number 2. County staff requested the attached task order from MRD and Associates pursuant to their ongoing coastal engineering services contract to assist with the permitting, bid specifications, and construction inspection for the next round of dune walkover replacements. Dune walkovers are an important erosion control measure as they protect sensitive beach and dune areas from foot traffic. Erosion control measures related to the physical preservation of the beach or shoreline to which there is public access is an allowable use of tourist development sales tax proceeds per Florida Statute 125.0104. The next 3 dune walkovers slated for replacement due to poor condition are 6th Street West, 8th Street East, and the primary dune walkover from Lighthouse Park. Construction will begin in the fall upon conclusion of sea turtle nesting season. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the attached task order with MRD and Associates to be paid from TDC sales tax proceeds for the next round of dune walkover replacements.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Croom. Any discussion?
I don't have a discussion, but I have a question. How much is this gonna cost? Whether it's TDC funds or not, I just wanna know.
They have been running about, as far as the task order itself, for the 3 of them, it's actually roughly 60-some thousand. I didn't put that in my report, but it is included as the attachment. And that also included construction inspection, which was something that we did not do in the first round.
But you said it was 60 what?
I believe 61,
Okay, I just wanted to know.
I think. Yeah, it is an attachment if, I should have put that on there.
Okay, that's all I
My
need to
apologies.
know.
Fine. Any additional questions, Commissioner?
And Mr. Chairman, I was gonna ask you, thank you for bringing that up. I wanna make sure that these dune walkovers are being inspected, cause I know we had issues in the past with one being built and, anyway. I just wanna make sure that it's inspected and properly built.
Yes, and that's actually one reason for, actually having the professional construction inspection, because they will actually be comparing it to, the bid specifications packet and such. And at each and every single phase of the project as well. So once the piles go in, they'll actually go out and do a site visit, so it's actually fully documented the entire time.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Aaron, with all these dune walkers, we're gonna continue the practice we've started of doing parking improvements at the same time, correct?
Correct. We are actually doing the post and rope to prevent forward encroachment onto the dunes, and that's also an erosion control measure. Now, one thing to note, I did notice at one of the new dune walkovers, unfortunately, it must have happened in the last weekend, it appears that somebody has actually cut some of the rope that was actually up in between the posts, so we do have to get out there with Parks and Recreation and replace that as well. So that's been unfortunate.
Okay. Any additional concerns, Commissioners, or questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay. Next item, number 3, from the Florida's Great Northwest May Update newsletter, see attachment. Florida's Great Northwest hosted a familiarization tour for Florida Commerce Secretary Alex Kelly and his leadership team last week over a 2-day period. The tour was designed to highlight the economic progress made in the region, celebrate recent project successes, and showcase the region's readiness for further industrial expansion and economic prosperity. The Apalachicola Airport was one of the locations of interest chosen for the site visit for economic development projects. Chairman Jones made a wonderful presentation to the team, and Airport AOED Chairman Steve Kirschenbaum was on hand to answer questions. Economic advisor Mary Swoop and Opportunity Florida assisted in the development of a PowerPoint slide which showcased the assets of the airport and drone videography. Several concepts for improvement and development were discussed at the meeting, one of which was the possibility of an 1,100-foot runway extension, which could allow for commercial regional commuter flights and/or allow the airport to serve as the base of operations for an aircraft recycling operation. The Department of Commerce team discussed a funding opportunity for a community planning and technical assistance grant, which was quickly coming to a close the next day. To meet the deadline, Franklin County submitted the attached letter requesting $75,000 in funding assistance to develop a comprehensive planning report with 3 deliverables and proposed budget by deliverable for the proposed runway extension. Deliverable number 1 would be a runway extension feasibility study component. Report segment would identify wetland areas, analyze any potential impacts to to wildlife, and delineate parcels for land acquisition for the extension's approach areas. Deliverable number 2, a planning component, written report segment, which would estimate the project cost of necessary improvements and the land acquisition. And scope number 3, a written report segment, which will include the development of the conceptual site layout, conceptual grading plan, and a preliminary design of pavement sections that would be required. Board action to grant retroactive approval and authorization for the chairman to sign the attached funding request letter for the Community Planning and Technical Assistance Program.
So moved.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Amison, second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, Ms. Griffin, you have anything else?
Actually, I just have a couple of miscellaneous project updates. CR 67 Phase 2 widening and resurfacing. Roberts & Roberts have just begun the project, and currently they are replacing the cross drain beneath CR 67. CR 67 Phase 3 widening and resurfacing. CW Roberts will likely begin construction after the 4th of July holiday. CR 67 Phase 4 widening and resurfacing. We are waiting for the issuance of the environmental permits before construction can begin on this final section of CR 67. CR 67 Womack Creek Bridge project. North Florida Construction still has to install the guardrails at the bridge, finish dressing the roadway shoulders, and placement of sod. For the FEMA SGI Fishing Pier Access Road, the project is unfortunately still under FEMA review. The State Division of Emergency Management advanced the project. Federal FEMA CRC specialists approved the necessary repairs to the road surface. However, they do intend to deny eligibility for the section of the collapsed seawall. The county is working with the State Division of Emergency Management and FEMA Field Office, who support the seawall project, to challenge the adverse determination, as the estimate to repair the seawall section is over $600,000. The Lanark EMS station, we understand that construction funding was included in the budget set by the Florida legislature. The county has responded to some requests for information to the granting agency, the Florida Department of Health. Department of Health hopes to have the county a grant award agreement available as soon as the state's budget is finalized, which the new state budget actually takes effect July 1st. Also, I talked to Caleb Brown this morning, and believe it or not, within the next 2 weeks, we will be actually ready with a full construction bid package. So we can actually get going on that one. And then Restore SGI Stormwater Project. We are in final review by U.S. Treasury. The latest data request was relative to the inclusion of a 10% construction contingency line item in the project budget. The county is working to provide formal explanation as to why contingency should be included for the project, and honestly, that's just good practice anytime that you do any construction funding. The new county EOC, the project site has been approved by the State Division of Emergency Management. However, that project is also still in the federal EHP, which is Environmental and Historic Preservation Review Process. From FEMA.gov, the EHP review process must be completed before funds are released to carry out the proposed project. Otherwise, DHS/FEMA may not be able to fund the project. EHP review considers a wide variety of natural and cultural resources, including floodplains, wetlands, archaeological sites, historic structures, protected coastal areas, endangered and threatened species, critical wildlife habitats, soils, clean air and water, children, minority, and low-income population. Unfortunately, this is not a quick federal process. So the next step will actually be for us to actually get a geotech task order from the county engineers and to actually get that portion in progress. And so I'll probably be bringing that to you probably in the next meeting.
Ms. Aaron, can we do any of those things concurrently?
Unfortunately, with the site at the airport, Miss Tracy Busby, I did talk to her because she's kind of been the project lead on that one, and she did say, for you all to reach out and talk talk to her directly if you had any questions. But unfortunately, the site out at the airport, it actually took us about 3 years to get through the EHP review process. And then once we had cleared that hurdle, we weren't able to clear the FAA hurdle for that site. So it's a very slow process.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, you're talking about the EOC and East Point, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not gonna be FAA involved?
No, no.
Okay.
So once we get through the EHP process, then that one will be green lighted.
Okay.
So we fortunately don't have the other federal hurdle.
Okay.
That's taking a long time.
It is,
Oh, it
yes.
does.
Well,
Yes.
can I ask a question on that, Mr. Chairman? I've got two questions, by the way. The question on that, is any of our money as far as the emergency management, emergency management office, is any of that time sensitive? In other words, do we have any money that if we don't do this by this, then the money will revert back, or is it?
We don't believe so. I haven't heard
Okay.
any of those, any sort of, funding clawback on those issues.
Okay.
Mhm.
And can I ask her the other question I need? The other question I got is up there on, Highway 67 on Phase 4. We were discussing mitigation points, DEP and mitigation points. Has anything been cleared up with them?
I believe they are going to actually charge us for the mitigation credits, but they are providing additional grant funds to cover the cost of that.
Okay, so they are charging us mitigation points for our own property up there.
Yeah.
For our own property that the county owns. But they're gonna give us grant money to pay for it.
Correct.
Does that make any sense, y'all?
As long as it gets done, that's what makes sense.
That's the most important thing, is to get it
That's all
done.
it is.
Okay, now, the other, second part of my question. The Phase 3 is fixing to be done pretty soon, because it had 180 days, okay, to finish the project. Is it gonna be set up enough to where Phase 4 can come right on in after Phase 3?
We certainly hope so, but we are still waiting on the environmental permit, so yeah.
Well, that's what we're talking about, mitigation for.
Yeah,
So, okay, just let me know if it gets bogged
Okay.
down
okay.
on the point thing.
Yeah, I do want to say too,
Ready?
the actual, the federal grant process has really, really slowed things down. Even with the USDA library loan assumption, that's also something that we anticipated having, completed months ago, and it's still ongoing, and we don't yet have a closing date for that assumption process. And it's just, honestly, dealing with the US Treasury, the various federal agencies, if funding is provided directly by the state of Florida, it is a great experience.
Well-
But the federal review is.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman,
Really
just
slows things.
allow me to say this one comment. I know there's been a big initiative for the state of Florida to do all the new little interceptor roads and the I-10 corridor and the I-75, the I-95 and all that. But they don't need to lose focus on the small county roads and stuff too, because 90% of the time along the coast, they're our evacuation routes. So I think he needs to be very mindful at the same time he's trying to get these 7,000 people or 700,000 people that move daily in the state of Florida. He needs to do that, but he also needs to remember that we still have to have a constant flow with our traffic here. And holding up projects like that and having to phase it in and phase it out, that ain't helping. We're still getting the same amount of federal dollars, highway dollars. So that's one of my peeves. I can't help it. That's just one of what, if we don't have a way of moving the people, we in trouble,
Well, Commissioner, hopefully if we ever get this, or when we get, not if, when we get this regional transportation plan going that we're gonna be a part of,
Yeah.
which we currently aren't a part of one, we've already, through the Regional Planning Council, tried to get, I think it was called TRIP at that time, the program might be different now, it's federal, to get money to put an on-ramp, an off-ramp off of 65 and I-10. And there was some discussion that at that level with the ARPC, the full board, but they said because it's federal and it's in a rural area, it's too close to the next exit. You know what I mean? It's not sparsely populated for that. But There was a discussion, and hopefully when we get to that rural transportation agency, we can pick up this discussion. Nothing would prevent us from running a feeder road along the interstate from 65 to 12, and then that's like a 2-mile shot. Without having to go in and around and through the woods, you're going straight up 65, straight to the interstate.
Yeah.
And that would be a better plan for all of us that are south of Interstate 10.
And what did I tell y'all last minute? If that happens, at 65 comes off the spur, we're gonna call it the Noel Lockley Jr. Spur.
There you go.
'Cause that's what he wanted all this time he was in here.
It is.
Yes, he did.
Well, before we move on from Ms. Aaron, just to make sure the public's aware, unless they change the date, DOT has the letting date that they plan to do some repaving work between the field of the Apalachicola Bridge and the John Gorey Bridge, and coming into East Point to South Franklin Street is supposed to happen in November. It's when they're supposed to start the project according to their dates. And it's gonna include adding a 4-way traffic light at the corner of Island Drive and Highway 98. And then the additional project that goes with that is gonna be probably, I think was March of next year. They're gonna be doing from South Franklin to the Carabel Bridge. They've also got scheduled to do work on Island Drive to repave it, and to do Patton Street and to widen it and repave it. So those all come up to the next, probably next year, but, so those are some of the projects that are coming related to the county and related to paving. Anything else from Ms. Griffith before we move on?
Thanks, Aaron. for
Mr.
your
Morrow?
information.
You're the next contestant.
All right, and the price is right. Page 10, last week FAA notified Mr. John Collins of AFCON that we have $534,600 of funds available to fund additional obstruction removal work based on the previous bid submitted by Collins Land Services. However, this grant application package was due yesterday. Mr. Collins completed the application on Thursday, sent it for the chairman's signature. After the chairman signed the application, it was submitted to Stephen Wilson and Chastity Clark at FAA for their review. The funds will be used to complete alternative bid areas submitted as part of the original bid, but not approved due to the availability of funds. With that said, there is no need for a new bid process. And at some point, I can show you, my plan was to share screen with you and show you guys exactly where it was, but I'm not sure we're all having fun and playing together well in the sandbox with my devices today.
Something's working.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure of that. Yeah, Commissioner, I'm not, yeah, let's stop share. I'm not quite sure what's going on today, so if we could,
Anyone, Mr. Chairman, anybody can find it online, though,
yes.
on the agenda on today's.
We will, I can find where to stop share. We'll figure that out. I'll forward it to you and I'll show it to the public and indicate where it is. After the meeting is over, I'll put it on the website. Not having a good day today with that. So I just need board action to ratify the chairman's signature on the FAA grant application package. For the $534,600 that we used to fund the additional obstruction removal at the airport. A lot of it has to do with wetlands areas that we didn't have the money for, that we're gonna use it for that. Which was suggested, commissioners, David Smith from FDOT, when they did their inspections, he determined what he thinks was next on the priority list based on what was submitted for the bid. So I'm sorry, so I'm just looking for ratification of the chairman's signature on this. It was turned in yesterday.
So moved.
Oh, Friday.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Amison, second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Commissioners Opportunity Florida. They're applying for their annual rural regional development grant. This grant is their major source of state funding that allows Opportunity Florida to provide the necessary level of support to each of their 10 rural counties and communities. The state requires letters of commitment from their counties and communities as part of the application process. Board action to authorize the chairman's signature on this letter of commitment for Opportunity Florida. Basically, we're saying that we will pay the fees this
Make
year,
a motion.
which goes towards.
I'll second.
All right. So we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Croom, second by Commissioner Amison. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Commissioner Croom is requesting a street light in Jacoby O'Neill Lane. The street is really, really dark at night, and it's a school bus stop. All the needed equipment is already existing on the pole, so there's no installation cost. There'll be a monthly cost of $661 once the light is installed. Board action to approve this installation.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Sanders,
Second.
second by Commissioner Amison and Commissioner Ward. Any discussion?
I've got one thing.
Yep.
I completely support this because we've got a lot of places around the county. As we go along, we need to see these places and give the list to Michael and let him do that because we've got bus stops and no lights too.
Funny you may say that, because the chairman and I had a conversation
Yeah.
yesterday that during budget time, he would like us to go
Yeah.
ahead and create a line item just for that, so there's not this piecemeal type situation
That when we
when it
see
comes to
one, we can
streetlights.
come back
Yes.
in there and do that. We need to do that because I know I get a lot of concerns out there along Highway 67 out there at night, especially in the wintertime when it's dark, you know.
Commissioner, everything else is information, but some of it I'll go right through.
Mr. Chairman, did we vote on that?
Oh, I'm sorry,
I don't
we didn't
think
vote.
We didn't vote
No,
on
no, yeah.
it. We made motions, but we're just moving along
It's been
today.
a day, let me tell you.
Hungry.
All right, any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, sir.
All right, Commissioner, so Ms. Riley, Supervisor of Elections, she visited next door behind me. That's going to be her future spot after the 2024 elections are over. Based on the discussions during the visit, it was determined that she needs every single square foot of that place to properly set up her office, not just for now, but for future expansion. So, with that said, I was gonna get a little corner in the back, you know, for me and for the board when we have meetings, so I cannot get that corner because she has more stripes on her shoulders than I do. So, what I'm going to do is basically, I've talked to the county judge, Judge Schuler, and court admin. I'm going to cut out a little spot, build a wall and a door back in the jury room, which is not used as often, you know, and they're all good with that. So this is more of an update to let you, all this is a plan of purchasing the East Point building, of the supervisor election moving here. That is a savings plan in the long run, because we no longer have to pay rent for the supervisor of elections once she moves in here. And it's all paid by American Rescue, correct? That's correct, which is a plan you guys came up with prior to us even considering purchasing the building in East Point for the building department and admin and zoning. And Mark. Can't forget Mark. Okay, so that was, in case you have any questions, just want to let you guys put that on the record so that when I send the invoice to the finance office and the clerk's office,
They know what it's for, right?
yeah, they know what I'm talking about.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
But also remember what this commissioner said about 2 or 3 months ago, that when we were discussing all this, that Mr. Morone,
Ma'am.
county administrator, county coordinator, whatever you wanna call yourself, that you can float from Appalachia to East Point on over to Carabel.
Yes,
And then you got rooms everywhere else, and then, you know what? You're gonna be more accessible to the people.
okay.
That's a good thing.
I like having multiple offices, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Come over there and I'll have to treat you to lunch
Oh,
one day.
that's what I'm talking about, okay. Invitation accepted. Item 5, Sylvester Williams Park. At a previous meeting, the board was informed of Commissioner Croom's wish to improve Sylvester Williams Park, which is located within the city of Appalachia. Do I have that commissioner here? No, she's left. And so, but in order to use county grant funds for these improvements, we need a long-term agreement with the city, giving the county unrestricted management, use, and access to the park. Enough said? It does say yeah. So, Commissioner